His name is Dr. Adrian Pratama, a neurosurgeon widely known in the medical world. Titles and awards were attached to his name. He became a star in the medical field because of his ability to save patients who were already on the brink of death. His success made many people admire him, praising him as a savior. Behind the white coat and the friendly smile that often appeared on television, there was a stubborn, logical figure, someone who doubted God. For a long time, Dr. Adrian believed that life was nothing more than the law of nature and science. To him, religion was merely a fairy tale passed down through generations to control human fear of death. He often said to his colleagues, "If there really is a God, why are so many babies born disabled? Why do good people die young? Why is the world full of suffering?" Words were always spoken in a sarcastic tone whenever the topic of divinity came up. Adrian's doubt was not without reason. He was born into a religious family, but childhood trauma distanced him from faith. His father was a strict pastor who raised him with rigid rules and punishments. His mother died of cancer when Adrian was 12 years old. His prayers at that time went unanswered, or so he thought. He prayed every night for his mother to recover, but God was silent. The day of his mother's funeral was the last day Adrian ever prayed. From that moment on, he decided there was no point in hoping for something unseen. The medical knowledge he studied further strengthened his belief that life was merely a biological process. To him, the brain was nothing but a collection of nerve tissues that could be explained scientifically. The soul, it was just an illusion created by electrical impulses. After death, everything ended. There was no life after death. Life is short, just enjoy it. That was his life principle. His career skyrocketed at a young age. He became the head of a surgical team in one of the most prestigious hospitals in Jakarta, handling complex cases that often made headlines. Many patients considered him a lifesaver. On many occasions he said, "Your life is in my hands, not in God's hands." That statement often left his assistants speechless. Adrian's arrogance made him reject anything related to religion. He never wanted to listen to sermons, never read holy books. In fact, he considered praying before surgery a waste of time. "Praying is useless if your surgical technique is poor," he once told a young resident. In his mind, God was nothing but a myth, and he was living proof that humans could control life and death without divine intervention. One dark night changed everything. One dark night changed everything. Adrian was operating on a 6-year-old girl named Dinda, who was suffering from a rare brain tumor. Dinda's parents had done everything to save their daughter. They came to Adrian with great hope. Her father, with tears in his eyes, said, "Please save my daughter, doctor. I've been praying day and night. God will surely help through your hands." Those words made Adrian smile cynically. In his heart, he said, "If there is a God, why must this child suffer?" Surgery lasted for 12 hours. Everything was going smoothly, ... until suddenly, an unexpected massive bleeding occurred. Adrian panicked. He tried every technique he knew, but the blood kept flowing. The monitor showed Dinda's heartbeat weakening. Adrian fought until the very end, but after 14 hours, he had to utter the words he hated most. Time of death. At 23:47, Dinda's parents cried hysterically. Her father slumped down weakly and whispered, "God, why did you take my child?" Those words pierced Adrian's heart. For the first time, he felt powerless. All his knowledge, all his arrogance, could not save a little girl. That night, Adrian sat in his office, staring at his trembling hands. For the first time in his life, he cried. That night, after announcing Dinda's death, Adrian sat in his office. The dim light cast shadows on his pale face. His doctor's coat was still stained with dried blood. The smell of antiseptic mixed with the metallic scent stinging his nose. Ash! The sound of Dinda's parents crying still echoed in his ears. The father's last words, "God, why did you take my child?" resonated in his mind like an unending echo. For the first time, Dr. Adrian felt shattered. All this time he believed that his knowledge and skills were enough to control life and death. But that night, all his pride collapsed. He stared at his hands, the hands he had always prided himself on as life-saving instruments, now feeling useless. "Why did I fail? What went wrong?" he whispered hoarsely. A few hours later, he walked into the waiting room. There, Dinda's parents sat weakly. Her mother stared blankly, her face swollen from tears. Adrian approached with heavy steps. I tried my best. His voice cracked. There was no response, only a look full of pain that made his chest tighten. Finally, the father spoke softly. We believe God has a plan. Thank you, doctor. Those words hit Adrian like a hard slap. How could they still mention God's name after losing their child? How could they accept all this with such fortitude? Adrian wanted to scream, to shout that God didn't exist, that their prayers were in vain, but his tongue froze.
Oh.
He just stood there motionless, then turned and walked away. Since that night, Adrian changed. He was no longer as confident as before. Every time he looked at the operating table, he was haunted by Dinda's face. His once steady hands now often trembled. He began suffering from insomnia, waking up in the middle of the night drenched in cold sweat. The image of blood, the sound of the heart monitor, turning into a straight line, all haunted him. He tried to calm himself the way he always did, working harder, taking on more surgeries. But the result was the opposite. He became more exhausted, emptier inside. Alcohol became an escape. Long nights were spent in bars, gulping down liquor until his body staggered. If there's a God, why did he let that child die? The question kept spinning in his head. One night, when Adrian drove home drunk, he nearly had an accident. His car swerved and hit a guardrail. Luckily, he survived. That night, he sat inside his car, staring at himself in the rearview mirror. His face was disheveled, eyes bloodshot, lips cracked. What happened to me? He thought. The man who used to be celebrated was now just a shadow of his former self. The next day, he decided to take a leave of absence. For the first time in 15 years, he stayed away from the operating room. He chose to go to a small coastal town, hoping to find peace. There, he rented a simple villa. Every morning, he sat staring at the sea, listening to the crashing waves, but the peace was an illusion. In the silence, existential questions returned to attack him. What is the meaning of life? What's the point of saving lives if everyone will die anyway? If God exists, why does all this happen? One afternoon, he walked into a small cafe. There, he met an elderly man who looked wise. The man introduced himself as Mr. Rahman, a retired philosophy teacher. A simple conversation about coffee turned into a long discussion about life. Mr. Rahman calmly said, "You look troubled, son. Restlessness is a sign that your heart is searching." Adrian laughed sarcastically. Searching for what? There's nothing worth searching for. The world is a mess. Life is unfair. Mr. Rahman looked at him gently. If that's so, why are you still angry? A person who truly believes God doesn't exist would never be angry at him. Those words struck his consciousness. He fell silent for a long time. For the first time, Adrian felt all his arguments collapse. Was he really an atheist? Or was he just disappointed that God didn't fulfill his wishes?